We come here today for a presentation or for permission of something or a decision need to be made. But behind all of that, Father, is our personal lives, the life that we live beyond here, the families that we have, the spouses that we live with, the personal concerns, moms, dads, sons, and daughters. So, Father, we thank you that you're not here just to bless this proceedings. You're here to take care of every aspect of our life. And we pray your blessing upon Claremore. We thank you for all that you've done and all that you're going to do in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Twice in one day.
I'm leaving.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
This is a drive-by, one and done prayer.
So see you in a month.
Do we have anybody in call for the public?
I have one.
Okay.
Rebecca Canal?
Yes.
Yeah.
We go over the.
Adam, you want to explain that?
Absolutely. So just so you're aware ahead of time, when we have someone on call with the public, we'll give 3 minutes for you to speak on your topic. Sarah, I believe you have a timer going. And just so you're aware, while you can absolutely address the council won't be able to respond in any way, just because of state laws regarding open meetings.
Okay, so I am here just to speak on item number 2, the zoning on Florence Street. So we had a meeting a couple weeks ago for the zoning to be approved for a duplex to turn into it from a single home to a multifamily home. That was approved, and that's why we're here today. So my issue is not at all with the duplex being built. I think that's a great improvement to my neighborhood. But I'm the property owner to the south of that property. And so my issue is the access to that duplex that's being built. It's my understanding that they're building an alleyway from on my property line to, I guess, grant access to the back of the duplex. So it'll be coming from Payne Street. So Florence Street is where the duplex is being made, and Payne Street is where the alleyway is going to be built. The plat that was drawn forever ago gives or grants our utility easement for 15 foot. The regulations for an alleyway in Claremore is 20 foot. And so that's why I want to make sure that if an alleyway is going to be made, if that's approved, that happens, that it actually follow the regulations for the city of Claremore. So I would ask that it would be 20 feet, but that obviously goes into my property line. So I would want to be compensated for that if that's something that's approved. Additionally, I just want to make sure that if it's approved that it's still following the regulations with it being paved versus gravel. I don't know, I know I can't ask questions, so I don't know if the alleyway, does it stop at the driveway for the duplex, or does it have to go street to street? So Payne Street, where the alley would start, to Inola Street, would it end there? So does that entire thing have to be paved? And then the only other thing I would add is the alleyway will be directly to the side of my 2 back porches, so just taking note that it takes from the privacy and the security of my home. I don't know if it's approved, if we can request that a screening fence be put up by the developer. And then lastly, just taking notice that it depreciates the value of my home. When I bought my home, there was not an alleyway there. There was not an alleyway in that entire subdivision. So I would just ask that if one be made for this duplex alone, that would be up to the regulations of the city of Claremore.
Thank you.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you. Is it done now?
Thank you. Anybody else?
No.
Do you have a motion to accept the agenda as printed?
So moved. Second.
A motion, a second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Feldman?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Cottom?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Eslick.
Yes.
Bowlby.
Yes.
Irwin.
Yes. Any items unforeseen?
None.
We have a motion to accept the consent items as printed.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Feldman. Michael.
Yes.
Cottom. Yes. Long.
Yes.
Eslick.
Yes.
Bowlby.
Yes.
Irwin.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn, not, do we have to motion?
Second.
A motion to adjourn is second. Call the roll.
Irwin.
Yes.
Feldman.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Eslick.
Yes.
Bowlby.
Yes.
Cottom.
Yes.
Call to order the Claremore Public Works Authority meeting. Note the roll. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda as printed?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Michael.
Yes.
Irwin.
Yes.
Cottom. Yes. Feldman.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Eslick.
Yes.
Bowlby.
Yes.
Any items unforeseen?
None.
Under current business, do we have a motion to accept the consent items as printed?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Feldman.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Cottom. Yes. Long.
Yes.
Eslick.
Yes.
Bowlby.
Yes.
Irwin.
Yes.
Second.
I have a motion to adjourn and second. Call the roll.
Feldman.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Cottom. Yes. Long.
Yes.
Eslick.
Yes.
Bowlby.
Yes.
Irwin.
Yes.
Call to order the Claremore City Council meeting. Note the roll. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda as printed?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Bowlby.
Yes.
Irwin.
Yes.
Cottom.
Yes.
Feldman.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Eslick.
Yes.
Any items unforeseen?
None.
Mayor's report and appointments. I have none for tonight. Awards and presentations, communications.
Just if you'll notice at your desk, City Clerk has left you all some lapel pins that we've had made with the new logo. That's all under that I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Manager. Staff reports, Mr. Manager.
The only thing I have is a reminder to the citizens that watching at home that today, the third wave or circling or pickup process of all vegetation and C&D debris began. So again, it's imperative that if you have not done so, you have a few days, but not more than that, to get everything out to the rights of way and into the alleys if you have storm-related debris. Vegetation and or construction debris, or what we call C&D, they have to be separated, but the final pass is going on now. Crews are still addressing what we call leaners and hangers, so trees that are leaning over right-of-way, certain utilities, the streets that are not recoverable are being taken out, and hangers, limbs and branches that didn't come all the way down and are still there and pose a potential threat. They're out taking those down and picking up that. So it's imperative that once this final pass is done, there will not be another pass outside of after FEMA makes a determination on what we call the PPDR, which is the personal property debris removal. That could be weeks and weeks away. We've taken 150 or so applications, if not more. That's a consideration that's made, excuse me, by the monitoring firm and then submitted to FEMA. I made the decision in the directive to not pick that stuff up until we knew it was going to be paid for, because it could be a considerable expense. And so, but we're weeks away from knowing that. But as far as the stuff out the roadside, get it out there over the next 48 hours, because once these guys are, the more passes they make, the less and less there is to pick up, and the quicker it goes. So after that, there won't be any city pickup of roadside debris. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor and
Thank you,
Councilors.
Mr. Manager. Current business, do we have a motion to approve the consent items as printed?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Michael.
Yes.
Feldman.
Yes.
Cottom. Long.
Yes.
Eslick.
Yes.
Bowlby.
Yes.
Irwin.
Yes.
Item number 2, discussion and possible action on ordinance number 2024-3, changing the zoning from RSV5 to MF2 on a tract of land. located in the south side addition of Section 16, Township 21 North, Range 16 East of the IBM, Rogers County, Oklahoma. Mr. Clifton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council, Mr. Ferry. The request before you is a zoning change, and kind of in keeping with the way that I've presented these in the past. I wanted to note kind of the agreements that this particular change has with the comprehensive plan. It's one of the biggest things that we use in order to determine whether or not a zoning change is actually appropriate. And so one of the things that this particular property exhibited is basically it leans into some of the existing character of this neighborhood. So over time, this neighborhood has kind of created this mixing of residentials, one of which is the one to the south of this particular zoning request, but there are some that are further to the south as well. The comprehensive plan designates this area as a neighborhood conservation district. And so kind of what that means in the grand scheme of things is basically it either attempts to preserve what is already there, or it will allow basically a neighborhood to kind of develop in the way that it has evolved over time. And so that's kind of where we're at with this, is we kind of see that mixing of uses, and that's why this particular zoning change is in line with the spirit and intent of the comprehensive plan. So that said, staff did recommend approval of the zoning request, as did the Planning Commission, with a unanimous recommendation of 5 being in favor, 0 no's, and 0 abstentions. To address the alley concerns, this particular subdivision was platted in 1910. And so by all stretch of the imagination, it was done by what was appropriate at that time, which obviously there weren't a whole lot of automobiles on the roads at that time. So alleys were really for basically, egress points for, your wagons and your horses and so on and so forth. So it is substandard by the UDC, but there is no requirement for something that is legally non-conforming to come into compliance with the standard that we have today by virtue of the way that it was platted back in 1910. There is no requirement to do so. There will be no requirement, at least from the staff's perspective, of enlarging or widening that alley from 15 feet to 20 feet, which is one of the standards that we use in today's UDC. But in terms of materials and things of that nature, those are things that we end up looking at with engineering. It's a tough ask, I think, for developers to have to bear the brunt of an improvement for something that we are trying to get to. And what I mean by that is we are trying to get to rear-loaded structures that no longer have this auto-dominated frontage. Sometimes the term that planners use are snout houses. That's where that garage is, forward-facing. It's the most prominent feature of that particular structure. We're trying to get more historical context of the way that some of these structures were built, and that's the reason why we're going to the rear-loaded structures. So they will be responsible for the improvements from basically the right-of-way to basically the driveway for that particular duplex, but they're not necessarily going to be responsible from right-of-way to right-of-way. They won't have to go the entire length. In terms of screening requirements, there are no screening requirements in the UDC in between residential uses. A duplex, and it is another duplex, there is no screening requirements, but Mr. Hines does plan to screen at least his property. His property will have an actual, screening fence, an actual privacy fence along the backside of the structure. So with that, I will open it up to any questions that you guys may have. So
I have a question.
Sure.
So will this have 15 or 20 feet?
It'll be, according to the plat, 15.
15. And then on the alleyway, most alleys are not paved. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, most of the alleys that we have actually are grown over. I mean, they're just grass. And
I have one behind my house. I have one next to my office.
They were grown over.
Yeah. And they're gravel or...
So I'd like to real quick, so the council, one of the many things that we went through, especially after the weather event that we experienced was, and this is the alley, this is the right of way that exists now. there's already power line in there. So a lot of these alleyways that were not gravel or were mud, that were grown over, to Kyle's point, were completely grown over, were overgrown. The majority of which, if not all, have been cleared, and that was something that we had to do and was covered under this recovery process, because it's not until you experience something like we experienced, you go, oh my God, I can't get to a lot of this stuff. So one of the things that we've done, and we'll put a plan together moving forward on mitigating this from happening again, because God forbid we're in another instance like that, but I don't want it to be 25, 30 years from now and somebody had the same experience that we did. We have spent millions of dollars in removing vegetation and things in these alleyways and right-of-way. So we've already had internal discussions about moving forward as part of our street plan that all of these alleyways, we have to account for some things like drainage and impervious surface, but we are going to start a very aggressive campaign on rehabilitating all of these alleyways. So because of what we went through. I mean, we had places we could not get during that tornado because frankly, because of neglect over the years, not taking care of them. That's not going to happen again. It was dangerous working conditions for our power and light folks. It was dangerous working conditions for the people clearing things out. And it probably delayed us at least 2 or 3 days. And we still recovered pretty quickly. So I want you all to know it's a very preliminary discussion that we just started here in June when we realized we can't access most of this stuff that we need to get access to. So in the future, I don't know that we will pave every alleyway, so you will know, because there are some drainage concerns when you start adding that much impervious surface. You want to make sure that the water can get down into it, but we will start maintaining and improving. They will be traversable. They will, at the very least, we'll skim off the topsoil, we'll get rid of the vegetation, we'll go in there and compact some clean rock and some fines. We will have drivable surfaces throughout all of these alleyways. I cannot tell you that they will all be paved. There are some that are paved now, there are some that are not, and there are some that are just mud pits. But we will be looking at our alleyway access points.
It just doesn't sound good though if we can't make it 20 feet for sure. Like, don't we want to have it wide enough for cars to get through?
Well, the minimum lane width typically is 11 feet or 12 on a traversable lane for cars for lane width. So, I mean, the issue is, and the speaker brought it, I mean, if we do that on every one, that's a lot of dollars we're spending on right-of-way acquisition.
Is there an existing alleyway or are we creating one?
This is it's existing right-of-way. It's only, but it was platted in 1910, so it was only 15 feet wide. It was now our minimum standard.
It was platted into those requirements.
So there's an existing alleyway right now.
It is.
And they're planning to use the existing alleyway for rear access to the... Instead of entering the garage from the road, they're going to enter from an existing alleyway.
Yeah, they're basically use the alley as their access point to the garage on the rear of those. So you won't see any garage doors from the front side.
And what's in the alley right now? Just vegetation?
Just vegetation.
And on the, but it looks to be on the west side of it are utility poles.
Can I see that, John?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Is this on this?
Point, it's more groomed now than it has been in.
Right. And this is between two existing,
This is the alley.
an existing duplex and a single house that's be turned into
This is a power.
Yeah, so there was two single-family homes originally.
And so,
One has already been built.
so,
And we can go through, but we'll eventually in order to take away from
garage is going to face this way, correct?
The access.
And in this case, the builder is going to keep it at 15 feet and provide screening.
Well, he's going to screen his property.
Right, that's right, his
But he's
property.
not necessarily going to screen all the way down to basically the corner of her property. There's no requirement to do that.
Are there
And that's on them, that's not required. They're just doing that.
Yeah, in terms of screening his own property, yeah, I mean, that's a decision that each, property owner makes based off of what they want for their development.
So he's just going to have one duplex, but there could be additional in that?
There's going to be two duplexes.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
But it's a rather, I mean, if you look at the size of the lot,
Yeah, I saw that.
it's a rather sizable.
It is a very large lot, but so some other developer could purchase the other sections since is he owning both sections?
He's owning both sections.
Okay.
And it'll go through basically kind of a lot line adjustment process, which is fairly new to the UDC, but basically it'll adjust the lot line to where it'll create two distinct pieces of property of equal width and depth. and then he'll have a duplex on each lot.
And each property will at least have the privacy codes for this property.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So his intention is to build on both lots.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a fence on her property that's going to be damaged or removed because of this?
I'm not for sure. Do you have chain link?
No,
You have any?
my neighbor does.
Okay. Do you have any fence at all? Okay, so no fence at all.
20 feet would be nice for traffic getting in and out of it. I mean,
Sure.
of course, I drive big trucks, so turning in is 15 feet is ridiculous, but
You're not parking our trucks in a duplex.
I know.
You know, if this was,
So I understand.
you know, like we look at street right of way, we look at it a little bit differently than we do alleys. You know, a street right of way, when we go and we have like a commercial project get proposed, we're going to look at the master streets plan. And if we only have 60 foot of right of way, but the master streets plan says we need to have 80, we don't necessarily take the additional footage that we need. We just set the structures back enough that when we go through and actually acquire, we can keep the structure compliant and get the right of way that we need in order to expand the road in the proper manner. So that's part of kind of the planning process that we kind of go through. And I mean, we would look at this very similar in that if we did look into the future to actually widen it to 20 feet, then how do we set and arrange the structures in a manner where we can do that, keep the structure compliant, and still get the right of way or access that we need? So.
On the bright side, you could put in a nice other structure back there, you'd have access to drive in, which would increase your value. I don't think it, but that'd be later.
And being at 15 feet, it won't be as intrusive then as the 20 foot would have been.
A lot of our alleyways, you know, that are more to the north of this one, a lot of them are 20. That seems to be a pretty standard convention statewide. You look at a lot of the older communities around, that seems to be a very standard measurement. It's one of the reasons why we use the UDC to kind of mimic that so that we can kind of keep some of that character going. I mean, you can certainly make alleys 30 and 50 foot wide if you wanted, but the point being is we were just trying to get to some semblance of consistency with kind of how we determine what's appropriate and what's not. So much like we did the rear-loaded structures, which there's a lot of them that either have rear-loaded garages in the historic parts of town, or they're side entry, you know, or they're recessed, you know, so the house sits up front and the garage is pushed all the way back. So we're just trying to get away from the garage being the most prominent feature
Protruding.
in our historic areas.
Kyle, is the applicant utilizing one of our this is a pattern zone development
It is not.
property? Okay.
No, it is not.
By that you mean?
Well, we have the pattern zone development in certain districts where they can come in and just, the pre-design plans that they purchase allows the permitting
Has
process.
the builder been here before? Have they built here before?
I think I might have some pictures.
Have they built here before?
Oh, yeah.
Tom?
Yeah, yeah, they definitely have.
And did I hear you saying that most of what's downtown is 20, and this would be a little
Yeah,
higher?
there's some anomalies. Yeah, there's some anomalies, but I mean, yeah, most of them are all 20.
Because this is Old Town.
It's a little bit south of Old Town. It's the south side addition, so it abuts the original town site.
I mean, we have no idea of knowing why 114 years ago this is why
Yeah.
I applied.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I can't get to it.
Now, keep in mind, when you have right-of-way like this or considered alleyway now, obviously it's not very traversable at all, but they're legally accessible conveyances of transportation. We're going to find a bunch of this stuff, and we find stuff all the time that is not in compliance with current code. So, and that's, you know, I wouldn't say code, that's not fair. because that
15
indicates
feet, is it
building.
gonna get a big truck through? I don't even know.
We drive power and light rig trucks through it now.
Yeah, the trash truck.
Plus, if someone's going to rent the duplex and whatever they drive, they're going to know
Yeah.
before they rent it.
If a
that's
trash
safe.
truck will drive down a main street, it'll drive down that 15. Or it better, John.
Yeah.
Gotta get the trees. I personally like the idea of the I don't know how you just, what your terminology was, but basically not having that garage facing forward in the old town, because I live in a 100-year-old, actually 100-year-olds this year, house. I do like the idea of not seeing garages on there. I disagree to the point about the property value, because I see the benefits of an alley from being in my neighborhood and seeing the alley behind my house and then alleys across the way, and the benefit they have. So the 15-foot I don't like, but I understand why we're doing it. I understand the expense on the contractor and also the expense on the city to buy 5 feet or 2.5 feet on either side, the entire length of the deal. So if I'm going to weigh it, I'm going to recommend approval. I think the city's doing a really good job of trying to improve things and clean things up, and I believe that John says what he says is what he's going to do, and what he's going to do is make it better and make those alleyways beautiful or at least usable. And he's been doing a great job with that. The whole city has been doing, or all the employees. So I recommend approval on that, because I believe them to do the right thing.
Is that in the form of a motion?
That is in the form of a motion.
Second. I have a motion, second. Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Michael?
Yes.
Irwin? Yes. Cotton? Yes. Feldman?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Eslick?
Yes?
Bowlby?
Yes.
And I think it's important that the council also understands that our departments also hold developers and builders to a very high standard in this community, and that will be the expectation. And if you feel that expectation isn't met, you need to let us know about it so we can address it. And if it's something that's addressable by code, or and we will. The days of us doing things the way we did 20, 30, 40, and 50 years ago just because. So.
Okay, item number 3, discussion of possible action on a contract for the sale and exchange of real estate between the city of Claremore, Jason and Crystal Bunny, and Jerry Montgomery on a tract of land as printed. Mr. Clifton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council, Mr. Fury. I can't tell you how much joy this item brings myself and Adam, and Mr. Fury for that matter. We've been working on this for quite a long time. And so for those that kind of don't really know the full story, there was an encroachment that was discovered on a piece of city-owned property. And so now we're trying to tee up an agreement basically to swap one for one. We're not giving up, just to be clear, we're not giving up any more than what we're getting. It's a half acre for a half acre. It allows us to fully connect and further expand our mountain bike trails around Happy Lake. It also allows the bunnies to keep the shop that they have on the piece of property that is currently owned by the city. So it is kind of a win-win for both parties. And so this particular item is just basically the approval for the contract of the seller exchange of real property. So,
Sorry, I have one quick question, or just basically for those watching. So this piece of property then will close in?
yeah, basically it allows us to go
That
all the way
trail.
around Happy Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a little piece that we just could not get across.
Right.
And this will basically solve that for us.
It's really good.
Is money exchanging hands, or it's just swap?
So
Okay.
even.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
The motion approved as second. Any other discussion? Call roll.
Irwin?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Cotton?
Yes.
Feldman?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Eslick?
Yes?
Bowlby?
Yes.
Item number 4, discussion and possible action on entering into executive session to confer on matters pertaining to economic development, including the transfer of property where public disclosure of the matter discussed would interfere with the development of products and services, and public disclosure would violate any confidentiality of business. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second. Call the roll.
Bowlby?
Yes.
Irwin?
Yes.
Cotton? Yes. Feldman?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Eslick?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, would you ask Short Leggy for
Motion to return to open session.
Second. A motion second, call the roll.
Feldman?
Yes.
Irwin?
Yes.
Cotton? Yes. Michael?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Esley? Bowlby?
Yes.
Please note that Counselor Eslick had to leave during executive session. Mr. Attorney.
Yes, for the statement of the executive session minute, the city council went into executive session to discuss and confer on matters pertaining to economic development pursuant to Title 25, Section 307C11. All present council members were present. Councilmember Eslick recently left. Maggie Froman Knight was also called into executive session. No other matters were discussed and no votes were taken.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And motion to adjourn and second, call the roll.
Irwin?
Yes.
Bowlby?
Yes.
Cotton? Yes. Feldman?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.